Welcome back to the channel. With the free agent market about to open and the NFL Combine underway, we're now maybe the busiest stage of the offseason. As teams make their preparations for free agent visits and possibly blockbuster trades, the NFL draft community is keeping its collective heads down in their scouting notebooks. Whether it's Devin Lloyd, Kenyon Green, or Treylon Burks, it's full-blown mock draft season, and Cowboys content creators everywhere are looking at this Cowboys roster to try to assemble the pieces to a 27-year puzzle. And following my first film breakdown, I think now's a good time to join the draft community, put on some college tape, and start looking at possible options for the Cowboys for the 24th pick in this year's draft. So today, in my first prospect analysis, I'll take a look at three-time All-American cornerback, Cincinnati's Sauce Gardner. You might be asking yourself, why would Dallas consider taking a corner with their first pick after taking Kelvin Joseph in the second round last year and after Trayvon Diggs earned All-Pro honors? Or wondering, why would I? Simple. Money. Well, that's a part of it. Cowboys, like I said before, are over the salary cap and don't want to restructure contracts for fear of ramifications in future years. While solid and at times even good, Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis would save the Cowboys $7 million if they were to cut them. The other reason Sauce Gardner to Dallas makes sense is that this team is very high on Kelvin Joseph, and they should be. Just read the reports on him coming out of Kentucky. Quick feet, the ability to mirror receivers, and great ball skills. All the makings of a premier slot corner. Don't want to get too carried away, but imagine the Dallas secondary with Trayvon Diggs, Kelvin Joseph, Sauce Gardner, and Jaron Kearse, with Dan Quinn overseeing the operation. Plus, I'm dropping this video in connection with a written prospect debate I'll be having with Mike Crum of Cowboys Wire and the ATB Cowboys podcast as to who would be a better fit for the Cowboys, Sauce Gardner or LSU's Derek Stingley Jr. The links to his social media are down below in the description. And while you're down there, make sure to hit the like and sub button to get more videos like this. So in the interest of being objective, I'm going to look at Sauce Gardner in 3 games while highlighting the things that I like about his game and the things that I don't before giving you my final word and what it would mean for Dallas to draft him. The games we're going to focus on are Alabama, Notre Dame, and Memphis. Particularly Alabama, because I want to see Gardner against the best talent in the country and arguably top receiver in the class, Jamison Williams. And Memphis, because I want to see how he held up in coverage against a small speedster, Calvin Austin. With that said, let's get started. There's a lot to like about Sauce Gardner from solely a physical perspective. You talk about NFL prototypes and size archetypes that people are always talking about during the draft eval process. Sauce Gardner fits that mold. At almost 6'3", 200 pounds, he has the length GMs covet with adequate speed to match. After watching him in 3 games, I can say that, definitively, the positives outweigh the negatives by a good margin. Again, I want to make sure that I'm being as objective as possible, so the best way to do that in this case is to first lay out the negatives in his play and then highlight the better aspects of his game. First, his tackling, and it's more of a tackling technique. I'll give him credit for wanting to be a willing tackler in the first place, especially as a cornerback. And while there are highlights like this, there were a few times I noticed where, when asked to tackle a ball carrier, he came in high, almost allowing the runner to initiate contact into him, or other times when he tried to make a tackle but was very upright and stood tall, letting the runner fall forward into him for a little extra yardage, or at worst, missing the tackle altogether. The second thing I didn't like is that he can be overly aggressive with trying to reroute receivers and in carrying them down the field. And thinking about how that projects at the NFL level, it can be either a good or bad thing depending on the situation, which I'll explain. Here's a receiver going on a deep post, and even after the first 5 yards, you see Gardner grabbing the receiver and making contact to impede his progress. And here's another example where he goes for a little extra away from the play and ends up in a touchdown. No throw, no problem. But then, against a speedier, more shifty threat like Calvin Austin, he gets a little more exposed. First, they give him the benefit of the doubt down the left sideline. Then he gets away with a clear jersey pull down the field. No play, no call. All that builds up before getting flagged for grabbing Austin on a double move. Now on to the positives. For some, this might seem like a contradiction after I mentioned he was being overly aggressive, but that characteristic weighs as a positive in better circumstances. Case in point, I'm not one for football cliches or rhetoric that the Cowboys need a dog mentality to win titles, but the attitude that Gardner plays with is impossible to not see when you watch him on film. Just playing to the whistle, than just playing through the whistle. He's definitely the latter of that. Watch this play here. By this time in the game, Gardner and Notre Dame receiver Kevin Austin have squared up a few times already. Gardner defends Austin on the route, sees the ball in the air getting intercepted, then hustles back to block to get a little bit more action on Austin. Austin isn't a finesse receiver or weak by any means. He's a physical type of player himself, and watching Gardner do this to him stands out. In this game, Austin was shut down by Gardner for 0 catches and 0 yards. Against Alabama, it's 3rd and 6 and a critical play in the game. Gardner's here, at the top of the screen. Gardner locks up his receiver, making sure he never gets free and ensuring that he was never an option to begin with. Then here we go against Memphis. There's Sauce up top against Calvin Austin. Austin comes off the line of scrimmage and has nowhere to go, with Gardner putting the straps on Calvin Austin. The next thing that I want to point out, it's not only about muscle and intimidation with Gardner. There's a good understanding on his part of knowing his assignments in his own defense. Watch Gardner on this interception. As the wide receiver goes in motion, Gardner then shades over to the receiver furthest left to the formation, in this case, the tight end. As the tight end crosses the field, Gardner could abandon his zone and carry the tight end across the formation, but he doesn't. He knows where his help is, he understands his job, maintains his zone, and punishes the quarterback for a bad decision. The last thing that I want to highlight is the quickness and closing speed. In this play, Memphis will motion out the running back to outside the numbers, and Cincinnati sends 6 on a blitz, leaving Gardner in one-on-one coverage with Calvin Austin. Watch how quickly Austin leaves Gardner reaching for air, and in response, how quickly Gardner closes the gap on him before making a near interception. I had to watch this play on repeat because how good it was. Oftentimes, there's a concern about taller corners being able to change direction and open their hips to run, but this one play should eliminate those concerns. After looking at Sauce Gardner over these 3 games, and doubts were taken with the 24th pick in the draft, I feel pretty good about it. Almost like they got away with something, because at that point he would be a steal. Some have him as their top cornerback in the draft. It's easy to see why. The aggression in how he plays could be infectious to a team that already has Micah Parsons. His ability to physically keep receivers blanketed on one side, while a sure-handed Trayvon Diggs lurks on the other, buys an improved pass rush, some much-needed extra seconds. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know down in the comment section if you agree or disagree, or if there's anything that I missed. Once again, thanks for watching. And as always, Cowboys up. Peace.